Hey class, welcome. Here we are, week 4. We're going to be talking about spaces and relationships this week. So before I get into what's going on this week, I just want to thank you guys for giving me a little bit of grace on getting your grades back. I did finish everything by yesterday because I had surgery this last week. Everything went great. Thank you for those of you who sent the well wishes and prayers. I appreciate it. Everything went great, but I just, needed a little extra time getting those grades in. So I appreciate that. Really nice job. I love the tessellations overall. Nice work. The things I want to see you guys do is, when we do just the bare minimum, it's not going to really push us. So, for example, a lot of you on the tessellations, you did the shapes, but, we wanted to kind of see you pop those shapes with some shading, with some color, and look at MC Escher for inspiration. So be looking to the world around you and really be getting some inspiration in there. But overall they were really nice. I was really pleased with them, and I was really happy too with the critiques, how well you guys participated with each other and gave feedback. I think that is a really good thing, really helpful. So this week I should have everything done by Friday. Grades, not a problem. I will be doing videos for the create assignment you did last week of the emotional hand gestures. I apologize that I didn't do the videos for the tessellations, but I just, with the surgery and everything, I just kind of ran short on time, and I wanted to make sure I got those into you. But I will be doing those because I think it's important on those hand gestures to give that kind of feedback, and I've gotten good feedback from you guys that you like the videos, so I do them when I can. Okay, the one thing I'll say right now is that I'm going to go through everything for this week, and then for the create assignment where we're going to be doing linear perspective drawings, I'll come back to that at the end of the announcement, and I'll walk through that whole instructions in more detail. So that way, if you feel like, no, I've got it, I don't need it, you can stop the video there, and then if you want to continue on and where I, audibly talk through those instructions, then you can hang out a little bit longer. So we're going to be doing our reading chapter 7 and 8, so perceiving spaces and perceiving relationships. So this is something I keep talking about in a lot of the feedback, is start to really think about how shapes and objects relate to each other. And that's one of the things we're going to be doing this week, especially when we're perceiving space and how objects relate to each other in a little bit more of a three-dimensional setting. And so that's what we're going to be working with, and we're going to be doing something really cool with that. So remember last week's announcement, I told you to just start working on your sketchbook. So again, I remember that you should have done 5 last week, 5 this week. You can do 10 in 1 week if you want. It just kind of helps you spread it out and manage your time a little bit better. So hopefully you've already done 5 pages, and you'll do 5 pages this week. Theme, great outdoors. So city skylines, the park, the trees in your backyard. These are all appropriate subjects for this week's journal. Look at angles, linear perspective, architectural details, natural details. Have fun exploring. So your sketches might look something like this, like your house. So remember to embed each of those images, and you guys all seem to figure that out pretty well last time. Okay, copy assignment, negative space. So this is our workbook activities this week. So we're actually going out of the workbook for the copy assignment this week opposed to the create assignment. And you're going to be doing 14, 15, and 18. So just 3 this week. And you're going to be drawing leaves using negative spaces. So this might be something you want to do and then use those skills when you're doing your sketchbook, for example. And then we're going to be drawing a chair in negative space. And then we're going to do a negative space drawing of an actual chair. So in this first one, you're going to be copying what's in the workbook. For some reason, a lot of students get confused with this one. So remember, if you're looking in exercise 15 in your workbook, the chair that is on page 54, you're going to be drawing that chair, right? So this exercise, you're copying that chair. And then in exercise, which one is it? 18. We jump over to exercise 18, then you're going to be doing your own chair. So you can pick a chair in your house to do. So keep that in mind. So a lot of students for some reason think they have to make up their own chair or draw a chair in their house in exercise 15. The point of this one is to help you get the idea of this, of drawing something like furniture. So you're copying the one that's there, okay? So keep that in mind. I don't know why a lot of students for some reason have trouble with that part. So we should be familiar with instructions and submission, how to submit, all that good stuff. So you're going to be doing some linear perspective drawings this week. So this is a really cool one. So you do need to do a couple workbook exercises here. You're going to cite an open doorway and cite a room corner. And these are quite quick, and these are just going to help us prepare for the linear perspective drawing that we're going to be doing. So I don't want you to feel like you have to put loads of detail into the two workbook exercises here. Basically what it is we're giving you two different techniques for doing linear perspective drawings. One is going to be kind of citing them using your pencil as a guide. The other is going to be using a whole grid system, which is what I learned how to do when I was in design school. And that way you have two different tools for doing this, two different ways, and then you can pick later on, you know, which version works better for you if you ever come back and do these types of drawings again. So for your linear perspective drawings, remember you're doing exercise 20 and 21, and then you're going to, sometimes every once in a while I get a student who just completely does not read the instructions and forgets this part. You're going to complete a 1-point linear perspective drawing of a room in their home using a grid system. So what you want to do is you want to do your workbook exercises, and then you want to set up your paper to a 10 by 12 inch drawing space, and I'll walk through these in more detail in just a minute. But you want to download this PDF here, and it's going to walk you through those instructions. Your drawing needs to include one door, one window, and 3 pieces of furniture, and a minimum of 3 decorative elements. So this could be a rug, you know, either, oh, it should actually, I'm sorry, it should include either a rug or a wood floor as well. So you want to give the floor some texture. So you want to have a rug or wood floor, maybe a lamp, maybe a picture on the wall, you know, some those types of things. Maybe if you're adventurous, draw a plant, whatever that might be. And then those elements as well. So, and then I would like you to render it. So either use some of the coloring elements, or you know, shade it with the different drawing tools that you have. So be sure that you label all your drawings appropriately and all that good stuff. So I'm going to come back to this if you want more detailed instructions on doing that. So you have a critique this week as well. So we got a lot going on this week. This is going to be your emotional hand gesture from week 3 that we did last week. So you'll have my feedback on this by the time you get here. And then you're going to be including your linear perspective drawing, so the grid drawing that we're going to be doing as well. So just those 2 drawings, and then the same questions here, and you know, mine up here to comment on their work. Okay, so that's what we got going on, and now I'm going to go into more detail. So if you want to stop the video now, if you feel good about everything, then you're good to go. If not, this is what these PDF that I've given you looks like, and I, you know, took a lot of time designing this to make it really quite simple and easy to get through. So let me see, does it? Yeah, okay. So what we want to do is start by drawing a 10 by 12 inch box on one of your 11 by 14 inch sheets of drawing paper. And the reason we want to do that is because it gives us an even grid, because we're going to grid this off in 10 and 12, right? So that way we have an even shape, because we're going to do these in 1 inch increments. So create a grid on your paper by measuring off each inch horizontally and vertically. Be sure you draw these lines very lightly, as they will later be erased. So use just a really, you know, light pencil, use your ruler, and just make these so that you can just see them, okay? It's just to give us a system to work with. So they're much darker here in this grid, but we want to make sure that they're nice and light so that we can erase them later on. Okay, so then we're going to put in what is called a horizon line. And so this is basically eye level. And so we're going to just guesstimate that this is at about 5 feet for our purposes, which is halfway up the page. Okay, so anything that you draw above the horizon line, you're going to be looking up at. So stand in a room, and if you're standing and something that is above your eye level, if you look at it, you're looking at the underneath side of it, right? Or, you know, one side of it. You're not seeing the top of it. So those are things you want to keep in mind when you're doing these perspective drawings. And then the opposite is true. Anything that is below the horizon line, so if you're sitting like I'm sitting right now, and I'm looking down at a table, I can see the whole top of the table. The table's not above me, right? So I'm looking down at it. It's below my horizon line. So we're just going to use 5 feet as an average human eye line for this project, which is a little bit closer to what mine is. If it was my husband, it would be about right here. He's very tall. He's about 6'7". Okay, so next you're going to draw a small dot in the center of your horizon line at the 6-foot mark, so in this direction, so halfway here. And this is called a vanishing point because we're doing 1-point linear perspective. So we're just going to have one vanishing point here. This is the spot where all lines from your drawing converge. So if you're standing, again, and you're looking, don't look at a corner of a room because a corner has more than one vanishing point. We want to look as if we're looking straight on, from one side of a box to another side of a box, right? And we know that everything is going towards this one point. Think of a road or a railroad track, if you've seen that analogy, excuse me, where, it kind of gets smaller and smaller and everything converges to this one point, and we get the idea of depth, okay? So that's what we're going to be doing here. So what I want you to do next, and I have to zoom in because I can't read that. Okay, there we go. Use your ruler to draw a diagonal line from each corner. Notice they intersect at your horizon line, right? And at your vanishing point. If you were to move the horizon line and vanishing point to a different location in the page, you would draw these diagonal lines from the corner through the vanishing point. So since we've done this right in the center, we put the horizon line here in the middle and the vanishing point here in the middle. We're drawing our lines right in the middle. If we had moved it over here, we would draw it from here to the bottom, and it would be in a funky spot. But we want to keep things kind of focused in the middle for our sake of doing this right now. So this is basically what we are getting. So now we're going to draw our back wall. So I've chosen the 7-foot line and the 3-foot line for our purposes, and you can see that now all of a sudden we look like we're standing in a box. And we're looking at the back of the box or the back of the room, for example. Then create a rectangle by connecting those lines. So you've drawn the lines here and here, right? And then we have our back of the room at this point, okay? And you can start to see that now we're going to have the side walls as well, right? So now you you erase those intersecting lines here. So again, all these lines need to be drawn really lightly, okay, at the beginning. And you may want to just practice the grid part and then, redraw the room. It's up to you. So that way now you can see that we have a room, right? And we're looking from one end of the room to the other. We're not looking at the corner. We're looking straight at one wall. So from here, we want to make our door. So we want to pick a height for the door. So you can place the door anywhere in the room on, either side of the room. For this door, I drew it a line from the 8-foot mark. So from here, this is the 8-foot mark, right? So I picked this top corner, and then I'm going to draw that line to our vanishing point, and that's going to give us the top of the door. And then all you need to do is decide, how wide you want the door. And I chose the 2-foot and 3-foot marks. And you can make it bigger or smaller if you want. And then I connected those lines. So now we've got a doorway, right? See the shape of the door? Easy peasy, right? We're going to do the same thing for a window. So we pick where we want the window to be, what height we want it to be on our wall. So if you pick the 8-foot and the 4-foot, for example, we can connect those lines. And then you can decide how wide you want your window to be. And we got a window. Now we can even give our door and window some depth, and all we need to do this, same thing we did for the door, just slightly lower. So we may want to pick, if we know this at the top of the door, we know that a door is a couple inches deep, right? So remember that 1 inch on our grid equals 12 inches in the space of our room, right? So we can just pick a spot a little bit lower and then connect that to our vanishing point and do the same thing here. So I actually start with the side, right? So I go across and then I do this side, and that will tell me where to intersect here so that it's the same width. And so now you can see that our door has depth and our wall has depth, so it looks more realistic. So we can do the same thing with the window. So now we have a door and a window, and this is starting to look a little bit more like a room and less like a box, right? So now you've got the basics down. So now we can draw a piece of furniture, and we're going to start this by drawing a square or rectangle against the wall under the window, for example. And you can draw these anywhere you want. So use your vanishing point to give your cube some depth. That's what we're basically drawing, is cubes. So you can select, where you want your cube to start. Remember, we want to keep it on the line. This is the wall, so it's not going to go past the wall, right? And so we would start by drawing a square, and then the points of those squares all need to go back to our vanishing point. And then that's going to tell us how, how it's shaped, so that we can then draw lines here and connect them on this side as well. So now we've got a cube, a rectangular cube, right? And this will be the basic shape for the table. So what we can do now is use our vanishing point the same way that we use it to do the depths on the door, and we can give our table depth on the top, and we can do that on the sides as well. So we would basically just be erasing the line here for however deep we want the legs to be. And this is why you want to draw everything really lightly, because you can see there's these intersecting lines here. Later on, we don't want those to be there, right? Because you're not going to see that line of the floor where the table is covering it. And so, for example, right here. So voila, now we have a room with a door, a window, and a table, all in proper one-point linear perspective. We can tell that this has realistic depth. It feels three-dimensional on a two-dimensional picture plane. And so now you can have fun, and the more comfortable you get with this, the more you can experiment. If you're feeling really timid and you want to just, do exactly how I've done it here and do the same furniture and the same placement, go for it. Just really keep in mind that idea of the horizon line and what is below the horizon line. For example, if my horizon line is here at 5 feet, then I know that I'm going to see the top of that sofa, and I'm going to see the top of this chair, right? Because that's where my eye line is. If I were to draw something above it, remember, like here, for example, I'm going to see that underside of the windowsill, and I'm going to see this because this is below me, right? So keep all those things in mind as you're drawing these elements. And so it should be pretty simple with these instructions. If you're having trouble understanding something, please don't hesitate to ask me, but I hope that walking through this helped some of you. And again, let me know if you have any questions, and have a great week and have fun doing these.